Okay, well,
Take it away.
okay. I am going to start off with something you just said about Anne Marie and I making the decision whether the agents are going to get paid. Not really correct.
Darn.
I know, huh? It's up to the agent whether they want to be paid or not. That's really bottom line here. And and one of the reasons why I'm going to say that is with our new NAR settlement, only the agent's going to decide whether they're being paid or not if they do their BRBC correctly. I can't stress enough how important this is, that all agents, when you finally understand how the BRBC works, whether you've mastered it. If you haven't, talk to a managing broker. Find out the real facts about this, not what you're hearing online from other real estate gurus and so on. This is of the utmost importance. We are following the NAR settlement to the T. So the importance of it to get it done correctly the first time will mean whether you're getting paid or not. It's not the brokerage decision. I mean, it is and it isn't. It is the brokerage decision to follow the settlement to the T, but it's also whether the brokerage wants to stay in compliance and not get fined. We don't want to get fined. No brokerage wants to get fined. So the important part of that is that the agent does the BRBC correctly, so they're not surprised at the end you guys are not getting paid because. So just to go over a couple of the basics with the BRBC must be executed showing property. The minute it's done afterwards, you're not getting paid. That's just the bottom line of it. So if you pick up a buyer, let's say today, and they want to go see property tomorrow, you make sure that BRBC is executed today or no later than just prior to showing that property. And the dates must align. So let's say today's the 21st and you meet a buyer and you meet with them and you're going to show them property tomorrow. You can prepare that. You can prepare the BRBC today, the 21st, and you can start the representation period of tomorrow, the 22nd. And when you have the representation time, the timeline, so it would be October 22nd. It cannot exceed 3 months. So you're going to no later than January 22nd. So you have 3 months there. If you put in 6 months, it's going to get rejected. And this is when you're going to have to go talk to a managing broker. You must have the BRBC signed before the prepared date of the RPA or whatever contract you're using. You're muted. Elgin, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't. I threw my hand up on accident. I'm sorry.
Did you have a question?
No, I did not.
Okay. So when it comes with the BRBC, if you wrote a contract, let's just say on you have the date prepared of 10/21, you have a date of 10/22, and you have an end date of let's say January.
How much I appreciate you, and I thank you so much for that
positive. Nate, mute yourself. Go ahead, John.
Okay. So let's just say you have a start date of 10/22 and it ends on January 22. Okay, so now you fulfilled this part of the BRBC. Your RPA or whatever contract you're using has a prep date of 10/22, and you don't have your buyer sign the BRBC until the 23rd. That is a big problem. You are risking not getting paid because of those dates not aligning. So I really can't stress enough. Those dates must align, and your BRBC must be signed prior to or the day of the contract. Anytime after that, it's invalid. Okay, that is not within the NAR settlement. So you're outside of that. Be very careful. There's certain things that the compliance team cannot unsee. If you mess around with your BRBC and you change the dates, that's a big violation. That's going to get you to talk to your DMB. And at that point in time, I would say you're not getting paid. And we're not making this decision. This is the NAR settlement. So again, be very, very, very mindful of the dates you are doing the BRBC. get that BRBC uploaded immediately. I mean, prior to the RPA if you can, or the same time. I'm seeing contracts. I'm sorry. I'm seeing files that they're putting the BRBC in 2 or 3 days later. However, it is still with the dates are aligning, which is fine, but it's going to get your file put on hold and probably going to have to speak to a broker to get it taken off the hold. So just keep in mind, we have to play by the rules from now. Well, from August 17th, we had to play by the rules.
John.
Yes.
And we talked about this week, and what brought all of this on? If I could ask, because I brought you on this morning to kind of let everybody know what's going on, and some of us don't know. Give us your take on this.
My take on it is the brokerages are starting to pay their part of the settlements. Okay, I don't think it's any secret that that EXP is part of that settlement to have paid, and it's $34 million. Okay, they're now paying this. I don't think any brokerage wants to get fined again. And if we're paying $34 million and we violate this, we could be liable for another $34 million or whatever the settlement calls for. So that's a lot of money for any brokerage. So yeah, it's
34 million was pretty cheap compared to a lot of the other big companies.
Right. But 34 million is 34 million. If I had to pay 3 million, I'm saying myself, it might as well have been 34 million because I have neither one. So, EXP is a strong brokerage. I don't know how badly financially it hurt. It's gotta hurt. No matter whether it was 3 million or 34 million, it's gonna hurt. So no brokerage wants to be putting out more money than they actually have to. So we're like every other brokerage out there, we're paying very, very close attention to making sure that all our agents are in compliance. And our agents want to be in compliance because they risk not getting paid.
Are you allowed to say or give an example of somebody that did it wrong and consequences of that? Are you allowed to say that?
I don't know of any specific agent at this time who has not been paid.
Okay.
I hope that we don't have anyone, but if there is, they've got a world of hurt, because I know how hard as an agent, myself as an agent, Anne-Marie and I've been agents selling property for 27 years. We know how hard we work. We know how hard you guys work, and you could go through a transaction, and find out you're not getting paid. That's going to hurt. Our commissions, what's the average commission these days? Probably around $8,000. Well, let's just say you're not getting paid your $8,000. That's got to hurt. So okay. Absolutely make 100% sure that your BRBC is completely perfect. Let's just put it that way. It has to be perfect.
Okay, John, I'm going to open it up to some questions. If anybody has a question.
Want to cover one more thing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
If we're going to put a note in your file to speak to a managing broker because of something that's a little bit off on the BRBC, don't hesitate. Don't tell your TC to do it. Go talk to a managing broker. Get it fixed today. Don't get it fixed tomorrow, because tomorrow might be too late. So, okay, go ahead.
All right. So for the sake of time, if you have a question for John, can you limit your question just 10, 15 seconds so John can go around the room and answer? And with that, I'll open it up.
Hey, John, I had a question.
Yes.
So I'm assuming this applies nationally. So for me in Oregon, the principles are exactly the same?
I assume they are.
Okay. And so from my understanding is the buyer broker agreement, you need to mark it down to 3 months. If you do it longer than that, that's either a violation or not in compliance. Is that correct?
It's not, I don't know what kind of violation. It is not in compliance. So as all of us know, sometimes buyers take a long time. So if you're going to do a BRBC and it's going to start on, let's just say today on October 21st, it's going to end on January 21st, because that's your 3 months. If your buyer does not find a property within that time, you're going to need another BRBC, let's just say dated January 21st, and it'll go for 3 months. So what's that, April 21st. So then you can do another 3 months. Past that, I don't know. Can you extend it 3 more months? I don't know, because we're still getting a lot of information in, and I would probably say at this point, no. But I've worked with buyers for 9 months, a year, so I don't know if there has to be a gap. As we're getting more information, we can get that information out to you guys.
So the other thing is that contract has to be dated, in a sense, from when we do the first showing with them, irregardless.
Technically, you have to do that BRBC before the showing. Now,
Right. Okay.
Sometimes we show one property and we sell that property that day. So make sure that your prep date on the BRBC is that date. You start on that date, and it must be signed by the buyer that date. The day after, now you're in violation.
That is fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, just, you guys want to be paid, and make sure that you're going to be paid by doing it correctly.
And John, just to follow up on the 3-month thing, I know our car contracts say it's a 3 months, and it may be different than your compliance, but 3 months unless it's an entity. So
that is correct.
So an entity, we can do longer, like a year or something, like we need to.
Yeah, I would probably keep it with, it can be longer. I probably wouldn't go more than a year and then extend it after that. But again, we're getting more and more information on that.
Thank you.
Sure. I do want to cover one other part of the BRBC. With the BRBC, the compensation that you are that shows on the BRBC is the most you're going to get. Okay. I had a question last week from an agent. I'm glad they brought this up, because this is very important. They wanted to put 0 down because they had spoke to the listing agent, and the listing agent said they are willing to pay whatever commission, whether it was 2.5% or 3%. So they thought, because they're going to get an SPBB, they could put 0 on the BRBC. When it comes time to at closing, guess what the agent's getting? 0, because that's what they put on the BRBC. They are not getting the 2.5% or 3% on the SPBB. The correct way to do that is, let's say that you ask your buyer that they're going to pay 3% of 3% commission of that purchase price, and let's say that the SPBB says 2.5%. You're going to get paid 2.5% from that seller, and technically your buyer can pay you 0.5%. What I'm seeing is agents are saying, I'll just take the 2.5% and not take the other 0.5% from my buyer. Another scenario on the BRBC, you put down 3%, and there's a box below that that says your buyer does not have the funds to pay you. Okay, this is important, because if, let's say that you're asking for 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is, and you're putting down that your buyer does not have the funds to pay you at closing, but you have an SPBB, you can get paid from the seller. However, if they are not willing to pay you the whatever commission, and your buyer cannot, it is advisable to, at that point, cancel the contract and not represent the buyer, because you're not going to get paid. So there's that's something to really make sure of in the beginning. If you're going to tell your buyer, you're going to be paying me 2.5%. And if they have money, great. If they have the funds to close and pay you, fine. That's okay if you don't get an SPBB. Now, another scenario with the SPBB, I've seen this before, where the BRBC is showing that the buyer is going to pay 2.5%. However, the seller allows the SPBB, and they're going to give you 3.5%, or let's just say 3%. You as an agent are going to get 2.5%, because that is what is on the BRBC, and that's the most you can make. So just be clear, that is the most you're going to get, is what's on the BRBC, regardless of the SPBB.
Hey, John.
Yes.
On a question on that, let's say that you have a buyer broker agreement that says 3%, and let's say the buyer broker agreement says you get 2.5%, and the seller is willing to pay 3%. Are you allowed to go back and basically update your contract or change it to say, I'm going to get paid 3%?
No. the BRBC is 2.5%. That's what you're going to get.
But you cannot amend it or adjust it? Like,
No,
let's just say, well, what if I never submitted that contract to SkySlope?
Okay, now that's
Hey, I'm an agent. I'm going
I
to make
know.
as much money as I can, and I want to
Yeah.
understand what I can and can't do.
okay. All I can say is that's a violation.
Okay. No, that's what I
That is
understand.
a violation.
Is that because they already signed a 2.5%, but then you got them to agree to the 3%? I just want to understand why it's a violation, because
It is a violation.
Violating, but I'm going to
Yeah.
get paid, and I want to get paid as much as I can.
Yeah, you would be in violation. So
How do you avoid that contract then, or can you not?
you mean the uploading of the contract?
No, just like, yeah. I mean, that's all. I just want to understand how it is a violation, because I'm not at all trying to do anything wrong, but at the same time,
I understand.
I want to make money.
It's a question based on the NAR settlement. That BRBC is the most you're going to get paid. So how I would avoid this is, as an agent myself, if I have a buyer who's interested in a property, I'm going to call that listing agent and say, is the seller willing to pay me what percentage? Okay, that may be the best way to do this, because you're going to write your BRBC at 2.5%, but now you have not written your BRBC, but you were going to write it for 2.5%. But you find out that the listing agent, the seller, I'm not sorry, can't go to the listing agent. The seller is willing to pay you 3%. Now you can go back to telling your buyer, I'm going to be paid by the seller, but I'm putting 3% on the BRBC. You know, if something should happen and you put let's just say you put 3% on your BRBC and you send out the SPBB to the seller and you put 3% and the seller says, you know what? No, I'm not going to pay you at all at this point in time. I've decided I don't like the offer, the terms, or whatever. Now you can amend that BRBC with an MTBR and go from 3% to 2.5%. And just say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you know, I was going to be anticipating this. However, we wrote it for this. You are going to accept this. We're going to lower the commission on the BRBC from 3 to 2.5%. You can never go up. You can't go from 2.5 to 3, but you can go from 3 to 2.5 to whatever. So you can go down. You can't go up.
So you should always start higher, and then if you need to go down, you can.
Yes.
But you can never change it, like, because we get a lot of properties here where maybe a seller's offering a bonus. You know, like, and maybe this is all changing, which I know it is. That's why I'm asking these hard questions. You know, let's say they're offering a $5,000 bonus, but now they're no longer printing that in the MLS to say, hey, if you sell it if we get an offer within 30 days, or, you know, something like that. We see that a lot in my market. I don't know if you get it out there.
No.
But so that you make sure that your buyer broker agreement is in alignment with that number.
Yes. You can always go down, can't go up. So
I tell you that sure doesn't make sense, because if on that single property, which of course you don't know ahead of time if that's the one your buyers are going to choose,
right,
but the seller's willing to offer that extra bonus, but you're saying that there's no legal way to amend a contract to be able to receive that bonus, even though you amend the contract going down, but you can't amend it going up if that seller is already offering that.
Correct. It's best to find out
that's
prior.
interesting.
Okay.
I know.
I mean, my personal feelings matter none as far as this NAR settlement, but I'm just basically telling you what we know about the NAR settlement and how it has to proceed. So, you know,
thank you.
Opinions don't matter anymore. I got my opinions, trust me, but I can't go there.
John, I would say just real quick, let me go over it. Best case scenario is what I'm hearing from you, and Sid, I think this might apply, is if you have not created a SkySlope file and you are writing an offer on a property and you know they're going to pay, then obviously you can make sure that your BRBC is set for the amount that you, because it's going to be predated that you show the property. If you're writing, let's say it would be the same day that you saw the property that you did, because you can't go back. You can't change your BRBC.
Right.
So you need to make sure that it's declared for the day of at the very late.
Yeah. Once you're in escrow, it cannot be amended at all.
Of course, yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
John. So when we get an offer on one of our properties as a listing agent, that agent has to supply the BRBC to us.
At least the last page.
Okay, that's my question. I just got an offer. She only did page 5.
Yes, that's all
Okay.
they have to give. They don't have to give you 1 through 5. They have to give you page 5 that shows what your buyer's going to offer you to represent them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Great question, Gail.
We have that question a lot. You know, I have a listing, I'm representing the seller, and I'm asking the buyer for the BRBC. I only got page 5. That's pretty much all you need, because you just want to make sure that that aligns with what you're going to be offering the buyer's agent as a
Perfect.
seller.
Thank you.
Arya, I know you're not lost for words and you're
Thank you.
chomping at the bit. Go ahead.
Well, first, John, so great to see you.
It's good to see you, Arya. How are you?
Very good, especially the other week when you kind of barely showed up, and of course, I definitely wanted to see your face. So thanks for doing
No,
what
you
you're
didn't.
doing.
Trust me. You want to know why? Because Amory's like came up with this great excuse. Oh, I forgot. You know, it's a shame. We just received our shipment, and I was unpacking. I've been up like, you know, getting 2-3 hours of sleep. Trust me. No one wanted to see me.
No, so great to see you. I have a comment. I know you're from compliance, and nobody asked you a question to make decisions. So I understand the complexity of that. But one of my comments is, and I, especially with the frustration that Sid expressed, is I think when we understand this lawsuit started from attorneys, greedy attorneys, to really making sure that they're the only one get paid and they don't care about the realtors to get paid, then we understand basically how this unfolds. So, you know, we understand we have to play by the rules, and we will. But my question is, where can I express my desire? Because I work with buyers, I built my business with buyers. And why is it that when it comes to representing a buyer, we have only maximum 3 months, when on the seller, it can be 24 months? So are we discriminating against buyers? I mean, where can I actually make a case? I mean, if I was an attorney, I would already be making a case of discrimination against buyers, because, I mean, I work with buyers. 3 months is nothing. We just get them to a lender, we get back, we get them started, we're nurturing them, we're educating them, we do buyer consultation. I have done this for years. I signed buyer brokers for ages. In year 1990, I learned that from John Pinto, my broker. But my question is that, how they arrived at 3 months? I mean, 3 months is really like a joke almost. But you might know the answer, you might not know. But what is your thoughts on that? And can we make a case out of that?
Oh, boy.
My thoughts on that? Okay. 3 months is never enough, because we have buyers that are out 3, 6, 9 months and so on. This is something that goes back and forth with NAR, with the settlement, what was thrown at them, what they agreed upon. You know, I as much as I would like to get into opinions, I can't, for obvious reasons. My opinion is no, 3 months is not enough. Fortunately, we can have an additional 3 months. Will this change? Possibly. You know, I don't know, because as the market softens, I've had buyers where I've worked with them for 9 months, a year. Sometimes I've had a buyer, we were showing properties, they had to back out for whatever reason. That 3 months would expire, that 6 months would expire, but would come back into play, 9 months, a year later. So can you do it? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe, someone closer to the settlement would have that answer. I don't know what time would have elapsed, and as far as who could you talk to, I don't know. The thing is, I've thought about this a lot. Can agents push back? Can we sue? I don't know. I as an agent, for the last 27 years looking at this, my opinion is it's the worst thing that's ever happened to our industry. The thing is, do we want to continue practicing? We don't have to. We can find something else to do. But if this is what we want to do, for now, we have to comply with the NAR settlement. In the future, is this going to change? Are we going to get our own attorneys and go right back after the DOJ? Maybe. I don't know that. I would like to see that. I would probably say I would talk off camera about my thoughts about NAR, but I obviously can't give you my opinion here. I could privately.
John, thank you so much for allowing me to just share the concern. Obviously, like Frank said, I usually wear my emotion right on the surface, and I say what I mean. But thank you so much. It was really an opportunity to connect with you. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. But yeah,
I know in compliance where you are.
Yeah, just be at the last minute to do the BRBC. You can explain it to them, and if you're going to be working with them, do it the day of the contract, the day before the contract. Don't, if you have a buyer that's totally unsure, whether they're going to buy now or 4 months, 6 months, technically we have to write that before we're showing the property. So obviously what we want to do is to have that buyer get qualified with a lender, make sure they're qualified on that day that you're showing the property, so you can have the BRBC. Past that, you guys do whatever as far as what we have to do to survive, to say, I don't know if this buyer is going to be buying in 3, 6 months, 9 months, and, kind of go with your gut feeling on that. But again, make sure those dates align on your contract, and definitely have the BRBC as signed by your buyer prior to the contract. I would prefer to see the dates completely align. You can have today's prepared date. You can have the representation period from tomorrow out 3 months, and make sure that your buyers sign the date of the representation, but absolutely no later than that date of your contract, your prepared contract date. Otherwise, that's out of compliance, and you're risking your commission. Let's put it that way.
Any other questions before I let John go? Yes.
Leanne has a question.
Leanne.
Thank you. So perhaps you're answering my question in your last couple sentences, because when we get a cold call, either on the phone or off the website, I was under the impression that I'm not even allowed to start to talk to them. I'm not allowed to send them to a lender to get qualified unless I've got this BRBC signed. But if we're just starting cold today, and I put them on a drip. I thought I couldn't even put them on a drip without a BRBC. But if that starts today, again, this 3 months period is just so ridiculous. So are you telling me that I'm allowed to send them to my lender? I'm allowed to put them on my drip, and I don't have to have a BRBC signed?
Correct, because you're not showing them properties.
Showing is the key.
Crossing the threshold of the property. You can do whatever till you cross the threshold of the door.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But the thing is, just like I said, make sure that those dates align on the contract. And I'll tell you this: the NAR settlement says before you're showing properties. Are you guys, total alignment? Yeah, you all are. But again, the dates have to align that contract. So let's say you showed a property yesterday and you're going to write the contract today. This is up to you. Your dates align. You're good. No one's going to ask you, did you sign this before you're showing? But you're supposed to. But sometimes your buyer's not available, or your buyer, you show them the property and, you said, we need to sign this. I'll sign tomorrow. The dates align. You're good.
Great.
John,
Okay.
just real quick.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
I was going to say, last week when we spoke with Anne Marie, she had mentioned in Sky Slope there is a spot now for our BRBC pre-transaction. So
yes.
Are we now required to keep a transaction or a file in Sky Slope for each buyer as it goes, or is that just extra to help us out for now?
No, you're supposed to have the pre-contract, the BRBC. Okay, sometimes it's going to be the same date, so you can do the pre-contract, or you can just do the contract and put it in the same date, because sometimes that happens. I've had buyers where they've called me, John, I've got a house I want to look at. It's exactly what I'm looking for. And I may have been working with them prior, not even showing property, but on the phone or whatever. I go and show them the property. This is what we want. Let's write the contract. Let's write the BRBC now, and then we'll write the contract. And it's all, you submit it to the seller that day, and they give you an answer that, minute, that day, whatever. Now you can just dump everything in Sky Slope. It has to be done within 48 hours. But if you have a buyer that you're going to be working with starting today, and they want to look at properties tomorrow, the next day, or whatever, start that pre-contract. Get that BRBC in there so we can go in and review it prior to your contract. It's to your advantage that we look at it and tell you, you did it properly, it's accepted, or this is not really good. You need to go speak to a managing broker. And this is something none of us ever should be doing. It probably happens. Don't let your TC do it. Don't let your TC do it. Do it yourself. Don't rely on your TC to make sure you're getting paid. They're there to facilitate. It is up to you to do what you're supposed to do with writing the contract and so on. You do that, you get it signed. You do the BRBC, you get it signed. If you at that point, you can send it to your TC if they're uploading it for you, or upload it yourself. But you're never, I don't care if they're licensed, don't ever put your license on the line, your commission on the line, your whatever on the line by not being involved. Be involved. I've done that for 27 years. I've used TCs from time to time. Mostly I don't. But the thing is, even when I did everything. I don't want them doing anything. I want to be responsible for my client, my commission, and to be within compliance.
All right, John, thank you. Guys, we are very fortunate that we have someone like John in our back pockets, and I wanted him to share with you his thoughts. John cannot give you his personal opinions, and let me just tell you, he's as fired up as everybody else about these lawsuits. So I guess the best way to do it is learn how to play the game and do it well.
Absolutely.
That's the best way that I can tell you how to do it. So, John, I'm going to let you get back to all those transactions. Thank you. We look forward to having you again. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Hey, John, quick question. Super quick question. Easy one. So the 3 months. So let's say you get the buyer under contract and it closes 3 months and 2 weeks away. Is your buyer broker agreement expired, or do you have to extend it? What happens then?
You were in contract within that time period. You closed it after it. You were still in contract within that time period.
Okay.
If that should change, we would just have to do. Okay. As of right now, I don't know of any changes to that. If that does change, it's like a listing. If you had a 1 month listing and you sold it 2 weeks in and it closed a month after the expiration date, you were within contract. Your RLA is still valid, and I'm assuming that's going to continue with the BRBC. If it doesn't, it's a minor correction to extend the date on the MTBR. But right now, no, don't do that. You don't need to until we find out more.
I appreciate you coming in.
Sure, you're welcome.
These tough questions.
All right,
you guys
John,
have more questions that you get later on, send them to Frank. Frank can send them to me, and I can send it back to Frank, and he can get it to you. Or you can send it to me directly if Frank wants to give you my email or whatever. Well, I'll give you my email, john.graham@exprealty.net.
Thank you, John.
all right,
You're
John.
welcome. Okay.
Go
Take care,
back.
guys. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, guys.
Frank, may I make a comment?
Hang on just a minute.
Sure.
You got to wait for John to get off.
I know, John, it's very hard to miss us. It's, you don't want to go. I understand.
His life has been a wreck. He just moved from Italy, and he just got his car and all his furniture. He's not sleeping, and he's very busy. And I do not want to get a phone call from Debbie Penny chewing me out for taking one of her employees away from what he's supposed to be doing. Okay, Aria, go
I'm
ahead.
supposed to be doing this. I found the leave button. So yeah, no, my job is to help you guys out, stay in compliance.
All right,
Take
John.
care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Hi.
John.
All right, Aria, go ahead. Make it quick.
Yeah, well, let me just get my thoughts on that. Is in the 1990s, the buyer requested that they want to have their own representation. That's the whole thing started decades ago. Then, of course, now we finally got the buyer's wishes come true. They have a buyer representation, which I'm grateful for. I think it's a great thing. But then now what I'm seeing is the frustration that I share, and to some extent, I think everybody is, unfortunately, we become, instead of doing a consultation, advocating buyers' interests, see how we can help buyers, we become more of a compliance and kind of like, how do I get my contract in? I
think we lost him.
I think we lost
him.
Yeah, so
that's okay. Just between you guys, John is not very happy about this at all, just like a lot of you. And I get it, but that is still not going to stop me from achieving what I'm going to be doing in this business. And I hope you have the same attitude, because I trust you guys with your relationships with your buyers. So I wanted to make sure to bring them on today to give you the straight scoop. With that being said, in closing this call, I wanted to ask you guys a couple questions for you to think about. As you know, we're getting into, I can't believe Halloween is, I think summer was 10 minutes ago. And of course, right now we're getting into Thanksgiving. We're going to get ready into going to Christmas. So with the market being said, and you know, some people really thrive in the holidays. I've always had my best season in the holidays, but a lot of people, your clients go, oh, I'm going to wait till the election's over. I'm going to wait till the first of the year to see what the interest rates are, blah, 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 blah. So I want you guys to think about something next year on your goals, because October is when we do monthly planning for 2025. And I know that in your area, there's going to be a lot of business planning clinics. So you should ask yourself a couple questions. How many listings are you guys going to take in 2025? Be realistic. Don't say 140 if you haven't done 5 this year, because that's just a stretch and setting you up for disappointment. How many listings are you going to take? And how many buyers are you going to work with? And what is your ratio from listings to buyers? I know Nate is like 90% listing and 10% buyers, and I'm right there with him.
No, I want to do 40 deals next year, my personal ones, not my team. I want to take 30 listings. I'm going to do 10 buyers. So that's a good ratio.
That's a great ratio.
If I start now, but I have to start now in October doing, so I've done 12 open houses in a row myself because the market kind of sluggish where we're at least for me, for our team. So, but you have to start racking up your buyers now.
Yep.
Get them to close next year, just like the gentleman was saying already there, right? So you have to work hard through the holidays when you're getting no results to get the result in the spring. It's the same way every year. So that's
right.
That's what my business plan says. So that would be 40 transactions that average $17,000 net on my end of where I'm at in my thing. So that's 600 than what the team does. So we have a team plan. But Frank, you're exactly right. Everybody has to have their own business plan. What is that plan for you? And everybody's business plan can be different. It should be different. Mine's different than Elgin's. Elgin's is different than yours, Frank. You know?
Yep.
Leanne's is different than mine and yours, right? Yeah. Exactly.
So it's a good time to think of this. Another thing too, for those of you who are building your rev share group, and some of you may not, some are just focused on, some of you are just focused on business so we can pay the frickin' bills. And I get that totally. I do. If you have a group of 1, what's your goal for next year? A group of 5, which is a hell of a lot better than what you got this year. Okay. I've lost people, folks. I have nothing. I mean, when I started this business, it was up on a trajectory. The market leveled out and I've lost people, but people quit everything. So now I've had to gear myself up to go back up again. But you got to think about your listings, your buyers, possibly your rev share, possibly your referrals, because a lot of you folks have a lot of connections and you're not using the referral program right. And I understand, because I wasn't until I was told the best way to do it. So this is a really good time to think this coming week about what your business is going to look like in 2020. And some of you may have to get back to the basics. I know Elgin is a grinder and he grinds every day. He doesn't like it all the time, and neither do I, but that's what we have to do. We're coming up on the holiday season where it's a perfect time to go out and meet your friends and get those relationships developed and ask them the questions. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the hard questions, because on the other side of hard questions is your answers, and you don't have to worry about it. So make sure that if there's a business planning clinic coming to you, I believe in Sacramento here, Sean Kokoska is coming out November 12th. That's here in Sacramento. That's here in Roseville, but down in LA, I know Nate and Elgin, you've got some people that are coming in that you may know about. And I know in Portland, Sid, Probably Randy Bird's going to have something over there, but I just encourage you to do it and force yourself to do the work. Go ahead, Elgin.
The only thing I would add to all of that is you also need to be doing effective work. Don't just do a lot of busy work. Don't do a lot of busy work, and be very specific, be intentional. I mean, the one thing is that if we honestly look at our businesses right now, none of us, and I would include Nate because I've known Nate for 25 years or so. None of us are doing what we feel that we should be doing in way of numbers. Most of our numbers are, I ask you something, is what are you doing all day? So if you don't have anything to do all day, I mean, think about it, especially for those of us that have been in business for a while, you have nothing to do. So why aren't you talking to more people? Why aren't you just talking to people? Because what's going to happen is you're going to work harder because it's the stuff that we don't necessarily like to do. But all of a sudden, you're going to start having results. I was looking at myself the other day, and I'm pissed. I'm mad. I'm not feeling great about it. You know, we all have personal issues, problems. We all have the same things. And then you look up because you continue to work, and all of a sudden you get, for those of us doing agent attraction, you get 3 or 4 people that join. For those of us, if you're doing listings, all of a sudden you get 3, 4, 5 people at things that you've been working on that all of a sudden turn, and then they're ready to come to the market. And then you have some homes that were on the market that didn't sell right away. So now all of a sudden they reduce their price. They're under contract. And before you know it, after you're beating yourself up and you're pissed off, you can put 4 or 5 deals together. You've enhanced the relationships from people that are going to do business soon. If you're working with buyers, all of a sudden you're ready to go look at some houses. And if you're doing agent attraction, all of a sudden you got some people that have joined. But if you are doing, in my opinion, and I know this is a little beat up type of a thing, but if you are lead generating the length of time and doing the same numbers lead generation wise that you were doing 6 months, a year and a half ago, you're behind the curve. You're behind the curve, man. You have got to increase those numbers. I mean, you just heard Nate said you've been sitting open houses for 12 weeks. I know him 25 years. I know he ever sat an open house. I'm sure that there's something else he'd rather do than sit open houses. But he's doing.
I had to go back. I had to go back to it because there's not enough numbers coming in. And John Cheplak said to me, he goes, Nate, the team leaders who have too much pride to go back to the basics, they're going to go under. So I'd love to just be doing agent attraction and just taking listings and not working with buyers. But I know that in 2025, I have to incorporate 10 deals because I'm not going to get. Look, I don't want to be negative, but I don't think I'm going to take 40 listings, man. I just don't. I'm trying, but so you got to get back to the basics. I totally agree with you, Elgin.
That's it. That's all I wanted to say. But I also wanted to put encouragement out there that if you're willing to do this work, you're going to have success. You're going to have success, and pat yourself on the back as you get successes. When you pat yourself on the back when you get successes, you'll feel better. And if nothing else, man, something that us realtors don't do is please, please, please save some money. Save some money, man. Out of your deals, take some savings first. Because there's nothing better than to have some savings that you put together so that as the market turns and you're grinding and you're not feeling great about yourself or whatever your business, guess what? Your bills are still paid. Your investments are hopefully still paying off. Save some money. And don't, I think those of us that have been around a long time, what a lot of us will say is, hey, the next, Lord, give us one more real estate bull market. If the market changes, Lord, this time,
one more.
Save some money. Come on now.
Gail, you and I, we need one more. We need one more 7-year period.
So, hey, but we're all in the same, we're all the same bowl of soup, man. We're all the same bowl of soup. So some of us are going to swim and eat. Some of us are not. Don't be one that's not eating. I've lost like no weight, unfortunately, but I keep getting to eat. All right. That's all I have to say.
All right, Elgin. Hey, listen, it's time to wrap it up. I talk to Brent about every 3 days because I always tell him what's going on, what's not happening. He says, the problem with you, Frankie, is you got to get good at the boring stuff. And you know what the boring stuff is, don't you? You got to get good at the boring stuff. So Anyway, you guys, I just want to let you know, I really appreciate all of you coming on Monday. It's a way for us to get together and talk. And I really appreciate you guys being on this call. This is a very special group to Michael, Elgin, Nate, and myself. And you guys are the best. You really, really are. So make it a great week. Talk to you soon. Go out and do the boring stuff.
See you
Hey,
guys.
Frank, to connect up at EXPCon.
It was great to see you,
Yes.
Frank. And I think Eric is going to join the team